Welcome to the TapRooT Podcast. I want to start this episode off with a little bit of a story from back when I was a Boy Scout. I wasn't a very good Boy Scout. I did enjoy going on backpacking trips, but when I say I enjoyed it, I normally stayed in the back of the line complaining the whole time until we got to wherever we were hiking to. So being not the fittest Boy Scout, I usually was in the back, and I had normally a scout leader following behind me so that I didn't get lost along the way. And I have a memory from one of these trips that we went on, and I just remember I was huffing and puffing in the back, and along the trail was this branch. Now, it wasn't like a whole tree downed on the trail, but it was a big enough branch that it was kind of an inconvenience to climb around. And I was watching people going in front of me, and about 20 boys crossed this thing. And when I came up to the branch without thinking, I just grabbed it and pulled it out of the way and threw it off to the side. And the thing that stuck with me from that was right after I kind of tossed to the side, the scout leader came up to me and he said, 20 boys walked by this branch. It took one man to move it and make life easier for everybody that followed. And just remembering that story kind of stuck with me as I was thinking about what our roles and responsibilities are with investigations. So with this podcast, I want to have a conversation about why it's important to do investigations and really what's the effect of good investigations and being proactive in this. So I'll start this question off is, why is it important that we take the time to do thorough investigations?
Well, the obvious answer is to prevent future fatalities and serious injuries. I guess the almost automatic reason for that is you don't want people to die. And when you start thinking about that, you then think about, they've got a wife or they've got a husband or they've got kids or people who love them, and it would certainly be a horrible day for them if something bad happened to them. So if you can prevent that from happening, it's really changing the way, changing their life from then on. The life that wouldn't have been has a future. And I didn't really think about that, the question you're asking. I never heard your story before that one. And I never really thought about that. Well, I guess I could tell two stories. The first one's about Amy. She was a lifeguard, and I went to go watch her be a lifeguard. That's the only reason I went there. It was a swimming lake, and out in the middle of the lake they had a little floating platform you could swim out to, and it was deep. You couldn't just walk out there. And so I'm sitting there and I'm watching Amy, and she's watching dozens of people out swimming in the lake. And I don't remember whether I watched her spot the person or whether I spotted the person and looked at Amy, but there was this guy and he had a kid on his back, and he was trying to swim out to this platform with a kid on his back. And the kid kept climbing higher and higher on his back, and pretty soon he had his head underwater, and he couldn't get his head above the water, and he and the kid disappeared. And Amy, like Baywatch, jumps off this big platform and dives into the water with her little trailing floaty thing behind her and swims out, pulls these two people to the surface, gets them on the floaty thing, and hauls them back into shore. And I'm like, wow, she just saved two people's lives. And so after the day, I was telling her at dinner that night or sometime, wow, this is really amazing. And I just think you're just like a hero. And she was like, oh, Dad, it's no big deal. I do things like that every day. and I just thought it was so amazing that there's people who do things that prevent fatalities, prevent, this drowning in this case, and they don't even realize what they're doing. Second one was for me, and that was I was at a TapRooT Summit, and this was a long time ago. This was probably back in the late 90s, maybe early 2000s. And this guy comes to me at the summit. He goes, oh, Mark, I really have to thank you. Thank you for creating TapRooT. Thank you for training us all. Really is amazing. I don't know if you know this, but I come from a small refinery, and we were having fatalities. We'd have 1 or 2 fatalities every year. And since we started using TapRooT, we've eliminated our fatalities. And, he said that's let's just say a handful of people at our refinery who are going home and coming back to work now that would have been killed otherwise. And I'd never thought of it that way. And so for me, it was like a light bulb coming off because we don't really get much direct feedback. We get some indirect feedback, and you think about lost time injuries or those kind of statistics. But when you think about people getting killed, that's really changing the future. And that wasn't the last guy who's told. I've had several people come up to me at summits and tell me the same story. And so I started thinking about, well, how many people could it be that we are, quote unquote, saving because of what we do, what our TapRooT users do. And it really comes down to, it's probably, it's at least hundreds, it's maybe thousands of people. And that's really an impact. So that's my stories to tell.
And if you think about thousands of people, that impact is mothers, brothers, sisters, fathers, and that affects generations. If you have one,
if you aren't here, you might not create the next generation.
So there's generations of people that can be affected just by one impact.
It also affects your coworkers pretty significantly too. If you witness one of these incidents, it has an impact on the people that witness it psychologically too. So it's not just the family and friends of the individual that's impacted. It's that whole company and that whole team suffers when something bad happens.
So there's an Alex story. When you were probably about 5th grade, you had a friend who lived in our neighborhood. It was like his best friend, and this tree fell down on their car and crushed their car, and he and his sister?
He and his sister, yes.
Got killed in the back seat, crushed by the tree. And I remember that was a pretty significant impact.
Yep, and my kids now go to that school. There's a plaque at the school for a little tiny memorial garden for them, still on that school. Impact is another thing when we think about impact to families and people's ability to care for families. My grandfather just passed away. We called him a papaw for those who don't know Southern familial terms, but papaw. He passed away recently, but he suffered from an industrial accident at work. So he was a bricklayer, and he had gone through, been a bricklayer for a long time on a lot of big jobs, building buildings and things like that. But he would work at like Christmas, just trying to earn some extra money. He'd do houses and other things like that with smaller crews. Well, one of those Christmases, trying to earn extra money, he was doing a job with a crew and working on a scaffolding, and he would always say, I always check my scaffolding. Well, that day, for whatever reason, he didn't. And while he was up there working, the scaffolding fell, and he fell with it and landed on his back and broke his back and had to go to the hospital. And he was able to walk and everything, but he was in pain for the rest of his life, which was 30 plus years of time, all the way till, his passing. He was in pain and didn't work anymore. He did things, but he wasn't able to be a bricklayer anymore after that. And so that impacted not just his ability to earn a living for his family and provide for his family, but it affects people's work ethic, their thinking, the family structure. All of that gets affected when somebody gets injured like that. So when we are, working with clients, working with people, we care about the impact that what can seem like a small error can have on communities, on industries even, and on people most importantly.
And I was thinking the other thing to think about is sometimes you may not be fixing a big fatality problem when you make the difference. You may be fixing a precursor incident that didn't hurt anybody, but next time or 5 times down the road was going to kill somebody, and you fixed it now so that never happens.
And there's no way to quantify that well.
No. Well, the 0 is a pretty good quantification. If you're having fatalities and you don't have them anymore, that's a good quantification. Of course, most of us don't want to measure our safety improvement by fatality reduction. That seems like, boy, we're not doing very good if we still got fatalities to count. So, you want to reduce all the injuries you can and make the work safer and more efficient and better quality. And all those you can do with good root cause analysis.
I think about, there was a summit talk they were talking about, and I just found this on my phone recently, but they were talking about the need to change. And the speaker was talking with one of his safety people, and he was in the driveway of his house, and he remembers why. He goes, I was in the driveway because I didn't want my wife to hear the conversation. So
he's on the phone?
He's on the phone because
Okay.
we had five incidents that day. This was the fifth incident. And he's like, we were having them so quick we couldn't get them entered into our system before we were getting a call for another one. And he and the other employee were talking, and the other employee was like, is this ever going to get better? And at the time, the speaker, he was saying, he goes, well, it's going to change. Because if we still have a job on Monday, we're doing something different. And that was their moment for recognizing they needed to change the way they were investigating. They needed to change the way they were being proactive about incidents. And they found TapRooT from that moment of, I need to change. And when they talked about their incident reduction, I think they went from, and I don't remember what the number, but it was like they went from like a TRIR of like 3 or 4 down to 0.2 or 0.3, something like that. And it was in a very short amount of time. But for their industry, that was really good, going from where they went. And that's the kind of thing that if people recognize the need, they recognize the moment, and they look for, okay, what are the tools and techniques I should be applying? How do I get away from this same thing that I've been doing again and again? How do I get away from that? I think that's important as well, as to recognize our responsibility in finding these opportunities and making the world better for those who are doing that process after us.
Thinking about the same thing, we think about changing performance, and you think, okay, I'll go to a 2-day course, or maybe I'll even go to a 5-day course, and then I'll be good. But I think another thing that this talking to people at the summit gets me is that you need to be continuously improving what you're doing. And if you're continuously improving your investigations, if you're continuously improving your root cause analysis, that you'll get better even than you started out to be, and you'll even make more of a difference over time. And I think that's why, one of the reasons why I think the summit is so important is that we're getting TapRooT users, and even people who don't use TapRooT, together. They're learning from each other. They're sharing best practices. And these are things they can go back to work and apply right away to make a difference and to make it even better performance than what they had before.
Agreed. It really is a meaningful work that we do and our clients do, and it really hits home when one of our clients has an incident and you think, how do we get out there? How do we train more people? How do we get people to write more effective corrective actions to try to stop these things from happening in the future? It's a big responsibility and an important work that our clients do.
Now, I know you're a hero already. You've established that you're a hero.
I established it was
And you're
just part of the
changing world
job.
one log at a time.
One log at a time. It's equivalent, right? Saving a life, moving a tree branch. They're equivalent, I'm sure.
Hey, so you never know. If you hadn't moved that tree branch, someone could have
Not have drowned.
fallen,
They couldn't have drowned.
He could have
twisted
fallen
their
over it.
ankle, gotten stranded there, eaten by a bear.
Eaten
You
by
never
a bear.
know.
Oh, there we go. Wow.
You never know what could have happened.
I thought it was going to be the wasp story. You were
No.
gonna tell.
That didn't. No one got a better day because of that story. Now you, as a hero, have a declaration of contribution. I think you brought it as well.
Oh, yeah, I did. I surely did. Yes.
What's your declaration of contribution?
Well, it starts before that. I was very lucky early on in my
This is
career.
her declaration right here.
Yeah, that is the declaration right there. I was lucky early on. I had some great mentors and good people in my career that introduced me to different things. And one of them was a gentleman named Sam Parker. And he had a weekly newsletter at the time that someone sent to me. And he had a famous story and video and book about going the extra degree. And the video was all about water. And, you know, at 211 degrees, water is hot. And then at 212 degrees, you've got boiling water, which produces steam, which can power a locomotive. And so the lesson being that 1 degree, that one little bit of extra effort, can really have a huge impact and change things. So anyway, that was one of Sam Parker's big concepts, and that got me reading some Sam Parker and thinking in your career, well, what can I do? What 1 extra degree can I give that can really make a big impact on my company? And, you know, for salespeople, it's the 1 extra phone call. And, you know, for us, I don't know, maybe it's getting 1 extra level higher up on the on our corrective actions to make an impact. But also, Sam Parker has this statement of contribution, which I keep this on my desk because, you know, we all get so busy, just like Papa and not checking his scaffold. You know, I keep it to try to remind myself, okay, why am I here? And sometimes you get so caught up in, I got to get this done, I got to get this done, I got to get this email out, I got to, you know, check these things off the list. It really is about the people that we're helping and the companies that we're looking to work with and train. So thinking about the people and focusing on my declaration of contribution. So I'll read it here. For those of you who've been to the summit, you've probably heard this before. But my declaration of contribution: I will make good things happen for other people, for those here now and those who come after me. When things get tough and I fall short, I will remind myself that I can accomplish anything with time, effort, patience, and resilience, anything. When my situation is not the best, I will do the best with what I have. I will be resourceful and responsible. I will get over myself and expect more of myself. I'll be obligated to this world and the people in it. So whenever things get stressful and I am in a frenzy, I try to remind myself, why am I here? I'm here to make good things happen for other people. Here to change the way the world solves problems, right?
And I think I've heard, and I'll paraphrase this because I'll never get the quote exactly right, but as safety investigators, we speak for those who are no longer here. And a lot of times, speaking in those lessons of what we need to do and need to change so that it doesn't happen to anyone else. I think these are all things we need to be reminded of frequently in this industry, and as to why we do it. Oftentimes people get very caught up in doing things as fast as possible. And if we really thought about the importance of what we're doing, it wouldn't be about how quickly do I get this done, but am I taking the time to be thorough? Am I taking the time to explore all the opportunities for learning and really thinking creatively about what can I apply to help and prevent this? And so I want people to take this, hear these messages, be rejuvenated, and go back into their work with a new fervor for why we do what we do and why we apply good techniques like TapRooT when we do investigations. So if you want to get more, we'll say wax poetic with us, come to the summit. You too can share stories or post them down below. What are some stories that helped motivate you into what you do each day? But check those things out. Come join us at the summit, and you too can share, what makes you inspired, and we'll see you there. Links, as always, are down below for the summit, training, and everything else, and we'll We'll see you soon at a TapRooT course or TapRooT Summit.